What is up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and in this video, very quickly through my process using the expired domain finder in Scrapebox, the premium plugin. So let's hop over to my red server where we'll be working with the expired domain finder here under premium plugins. You click on expired domain finder. I think this preview might be a preview of the beta version of the next release. I'm not sure, haven't tinkered with that, but I've just been using this regular one here. And you want to go ahead and load your proxies. Make sure these are all three checked as you get going. Then under options and threads, you put your threads to whatever it makes sense with your thread pool. You can leave the rest default. I put mine to 200 threads. Then under crawler settings, you can put it to 1 to start out, autosave, and then do not crawl subdomains. Now, this is something that I've been working with this all day. In the last like 3 hours or so, I've been tinkering with this. This is like my 5th take on this video because I've had all kinds of problems and my computer just crashed after like an hour-and-a-half long video, and so this is going to be a much shorter version, hopefully. Make sure to speed this, click that cog in the lower right, speed this up to 1.5 so you can get through it. But what I have learned is that, logically, it would make sense to take a sample of URLs like this dental file, drop it in, you see it's 315,000, so that's kind of a lot. It makes sense to maybe go, okay, let's trim this to root, and then let's clean that up. Gives us 107K. Maybe we want to be more topical, so we remove URLs not containing dent for dentist. Of course, we lose things like smile or DDS or other dental, references. But logically, this gets our sample down much lower, so we can really focus on domains with the word dentist in it. And it would stand to reason that we should find some promising entities. And it's true, we do. I think the average is maybe about 10 DA, well, maybe not the average. The average is probably about 5 DA, 5 PA, 5 trust flow, 5 citation flow, kind of, just lower entities. A pretty good entity, I would say, would be somewhere in the region of 10 DA, PA, CF, TF. And then sometimes with this, so far I've been able to find some entities that are 15 or close to 20 DAPA, 20 TF, CF regions. So roughly, maybe 25 or 50 referring domains, up to 100 links, and that's what I've been able to find so far. But what I found is that the crawl level, it doesn't work like you would expect, where it just crawls the URLs you give them. It actually crawls the URLs, and it crawls the pages on those URLs. And on one hand, I kind of think, well, that's sounding messy. I don't necessarily want to do that. On the other hand, what I've come to find is that the yield is literally like 10 or 20 times higher from the domains that are on the pages rather than the actual domains that you enter in. And so the angle isn't necessarily URLs that you're getting from search engines. The angle is to find blogs where a regular person who blogging might have referenced a domain that is now, not in existence. Because when you find something that's in a blog post, you're finding someone that's linked to that website. So that's a much more likely to be viable entity. So really, you do want kind of a larger list that is, topical, but you want a list from blogs, frankly, and maybe even sitemaps of those blogs that can go through those blog posts and find those hidden gems, because stuff from search engines is tapped pretty hard. But things from blog posts, things from the on-page of these sites, there are some viable entities that you could use for either PBN assets or maybe to flip them for small amounts or create little PBN assets. The main thing, of course, though, since selling the market for selling websites is like just total garbage. Excuse me. The money to be made here is really to make a little PBN and load it up with maybe some curated and spun posts into some long tail regions that it might be able to rank for, and maybe you could use it as like a filtering asset, or a little linking asset, and then at some point you could possibly choose to flip that asset if you wished. But I think that's really kind of the main goal here. Because I think it's really hard to flip domains that are this low in terms of metrics, because the market is looking for things with established traffic. So it's really not very gracious, I guess. It's very much a wholesale market in terms of the domain flipping side of things. Anyways, so under threads and time, or was there, I already covered this. Crawler settings, I covered that. You could start at 1 to see how it goes. It might be good to go a little higher. Maybe this. You just have to see how it handles your sample. You could change your DNS server. This is Google, so you could change it to Cloudflare, which is the fastest. It's like, I think it's just 1. You could look up Cloudflare DNS if you wanted to change that. I might do that at some point. Then you can do the real-time filter, so that if you do the crawl at a high depth, then you can make sure that it removes URLs that don't contain a particular keyword. So this could actually be really useful at a high depth. So that's something to consider. And then you do want to set up a DOM. Well, you don't necessarily need to set up the DOM detailer for the use in this program, because it doesn't work very well. But you do need to get a DOM detailer account if you want to process the metrics. Then there's all this other stuff. You can look at that on your own if you want to handle data that way. I prefer to use my own URLs, but that's, again, up to you. For metrics, you disable all this stuff. It processes a lot faster if you can just focus on the expired domains. Then you can externally process it through DOM detailer. Okay, so under if you're handling files now, I've processed 4 different jobs so far, and this is kind of how I do it. I obviously want to do a deep scrape on URLs. This, after being scrubbed, is what I would do for email contacts, but you don't necessarily need it to be like this. So you could trim this to, with contact pages, it's not really useful. Trim this to root. And at the root, you'll get some results, but really what you want to do, and this is not something I've tested yet because this is really the next phase, but you want to find site maps. Like I was saying earlier, you want to find site maps of legitimate blogs. So that would be the most ideal thing. It would be probably better to crunch down your list and then to figure out a way to maybe do sitemap guesses, perhaps. Let's look at the sitemap scraper. I might have to do a sequel to this video to really show the power of finding this kind of thing, because this this could take some time to process that many URLs. So you want to be careful about that. Might be better to process this through something like the Alexa rank checker and only pull the bigger sites where it seems like there might be blogs. And then once you're able to find like all the blogs, then you could have a lot more to process. Anyways, once you get your sample figured out, it's probably a good idea. Like even this sample is probably better. Well, this is contact pages, but I have to get my tier 1 sample most likely and maybe trim to root or something like that. And then take that and maybe do sitemap guesses and figure that out. Anyways, once you get your sample, though, you'll come in here and click Load URLs to Deep Crawl from Scrapebox. And then it'll load up. Oh, excuse me. It'll load up into the program, and once it does, you'll just click Start. And it doesn't take super long. I've been processing an average about 50,000, and it takes less than 10 minutes, or maybe even less than 5 minutes. So once you get a super huge sample, then that's really great, really better. And once you have that quantity, you don't want to recheck metrics because this is broken. It doesn't work. The Majestic metrics checker does work. You have to obviously turn on the Majestic's columns, but the problem is it only does it one thread at a time if you're using the DOM detailer. And DOM detailer is really cheap. You put like $25 in there, you get like 25,000 URL checks or something. So if you're conservative with it and do your filters properly, it'll go a long way. But basically, once you get your expired domains, you don't really want to get metrics from this system. You just want to export them to a text file. And then once you have that text file, then you can open up DOM detailer program and you can drop your URLs in here, and then it'll look something basically like this. This was a job where I put in some restaurant URLs, I think. And I found that the referring domains is good to sort by because basically you can correlate the one that's closest to the actual links. Like if it's 200 links to 23,000, that's whack. Or 40 links to 800, that's an insane number of repetitions. Like you want to find something that's kind of in the range, like 23 to 67, that's in the range, and then you get more legitimate metrics on both sides. So you can see this seems like some sort of a legitimate PBN potential asset, the Grisette. And then I also found one, Patrick McKeon's Pub, McKeon'spub.com. So that one was, you see here, like 7 and when all the numbers are kind of similar, to me that spells a legitimate asset. Not something where someone has done programmatic link building and thrown a bunch of crummy local citations and spam at it. And so, that would be an asset that you could consider. So you can throw these in here, and then this program can do 50 threads at a time. So it's much faster to download the DOM detailer program. But let me show you guys some of the assets that I basically, you can use DOM detailer to get the broad metrics, and then you can throw them into Namecheap to see if they're actually available. And all the ones I've checked so far have been available. So the feature for checking if they're expired does seem to work properly. And then if you want to, you can just open up a free Moz account and actually look at some of the links in a more granular fashion. Like here's this pub I was looking at, and you can see it's got 60 inbound links and from 7 domains, which I think that might be different from what Moz said, but no matter. So I find that it's helpful to look at the linking domains, and you can just kind of glance at these things and kind of see if it's a generally legitimate little profile, if you wanted to get that for a little PBN asset, for example. Here's some other interesting finds that I made. This one was for one of the dental runs that I did, dentopedia.co.uk. That was interesting. TDSmilesmemorial.com. That might have been a hospital or a funeral. I'm not sure. That one had decent metrics. Let me close that. Northville Lake Placid Trail.com had some decent metrics. I thought that was interesting because that was kind of like a Parks and Rec sort of abandoned site, so that was kind of neat. Then the Grisette was pretty neat. And actually, there was something else. There was something called. There's another .co.uk one that was like. Is there a history here? Let's see. Maybe it's this one. No. Let me try. Yeah, it was like Flicks. So there's flicks.co.uk. Yeah, and that was kind of like an old movie site or something like that. And I thought that that was interesting. It had like close to 20 DAPA or whatever. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if I'll grab any of these. Maybe I have to check out, see what that one, the Grisette is. But it's kind of tempting, like thinking, I could grab this and maybe flip it for $20 or $40, like maybe. But you could also flip it for nothing, like because these markets are ruthless. So, it's cool that you can find expired domains. But then the question is, like, can you really monetize them? And really make it worthwhile, because frankly, you could just. This is why you really would need to look at some of the link profiles, because you also have to think about it like this. Like some of these links that are going to the, it's crazy. Like the domain is like worthless to the open market, right? But then some of the links in the link profile are pretty valuable. Some of these weak little assets. And then you can make more money though by selling posts to a PBN. Like you can set this up as a PBN and sell posts for $5 a piece, and the PBN market will eat it up like crazy. Like you'll find buyers all the time who will pay you for backlinks, but you can make more money by selling links to a domain than you can by selling the entire domain. It's crazy. And then the links that are going to the domain oftentimes can be worth hundreds of dollars. So it's just like it's really weird how backwards the market is. So you kind of have to view these domains as, okay, can I save money by buying this domain for $10 and getting backlinks from that domain, link juice, that would otherwise like cost me hundreds of dollars to acquire. One, that's how you have to think about that layer of it. And then two, you got to think, if I get this, am I going to be able to successfully sell posts to this domain? Like, am I going to be willing to set up this, infrastructure so that people are going to want to buy posts? Like, because when you really think about it, like both sides of it, like in terms of implementation, the ROI is really fantastic if you implement. But if you're going to just like flip it, if you're going to do the wholesale thing, like oftentimes you can't even sell these domains. So it's pretty crazy. Let's look at the linking domains. Apparently there's a Wikipedia link on this. I want to see what Wikipedia link that is. Awards.com. Flicks. Oh, I need to look at this link. It's .co.nz. It could be a trademark like .com. Maybe the company just dropped the UK version of the site. In cinemas, news and opinion. .com.au. This is Flicks. .co.uk. Flicks.co.uk. Well, that's weird. Oh, I see. It's a different spelling. Oh, I see. There's CKS. So somebody just had a typo. That's kind of funny. CSS Design Awards. I guess you could sell that to them if you wanted, maybe. I mean, I thought that I looked at the old site, and it was like a movie site. So I don't know. There's a lot of links going here. Let's see if we can see what this Wikipedia link is. Concerning violence? It must be a movie. Sundance movie. Let's take a look. Flick. It must be down here somewhere. Can I see the anchor text? The original. Archived from the original. Yeah. That could be a typo, but nonetheless, it's there. But you kind of, I mean, you get what I'm saying, though. Like, there's juice going here. It might be worth something if you flipped it, but if it's topical enough and you really wanted to, like, you could make a lot more money with posts. And getting a link like, I mean, it's no follow, but getting links on Wikipedia is savage. It's savagely difficult. Like, that community is like the most toxic I've ever seen. You know, that's a whole other story. But then we have this awards website, and I guess a typo from one of a similar website's place. We got Westworld Media. Let's see. It looks like there's a redirect now. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Those are all my thoughts on using expired domains from Scrapebox. There are some interesting finds, but you'd probably have to search for quite a while. I only did like tier 1. So in the scraper, I only went to crawl depth 1, and each job, 4 jobs, I processed roughly 50K on average. So that's only, I maybe processed like close to 200K. So if you were to drop in, you know, a huge file, I bet that you could find some crazy awesome opportunities. So I'll do some sequels to this. We'll keep this going, and I'll process some I'll have some massive files processing, see what we can come up with, and then maybe do some sequels in terms of like how we could turn those into PBNs. We'll have to see. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Appreciate you guys watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.